room, a new WPT World Championship will be won. In this room, someone who put nothing down will walk away a millionaire. For the World Poker Tour, we're about to bring you a poker festival like you've never seen before. Welcome to the WPT World Championship Festival at Wynn, Las Vegas. This year, everything turns to gold with our biggest promotion ever.
Things are about to get even more exciting.
The $5 million Invitational Freeroll, sponsored by ClubWPT Gold. Featuring 100 seats to the WPT World Championship and $750,000 in additional prizes and giveaways, including a 2025 McLaren GTS. So in partnership with ClubWPT Gold, we're about to create one of poker's greatest moments. Someone in this room today will become a WPT poker-made millionaire and continue the unstoppable momentum of the WPT. So thank you, the players, for inspiring us to push forward and keeping the dream alive.
Until next time, may all your cards be on and your butts be
lustered. If you hadn't heard yet, you just did. The WPT hosted a $5 million poker tournament in Las Vegas, with $1 million for first place and several mystery bounties over $100,000. And I've got a ticket to play in it. Let's go win $1 million. Touchdown in Las Vegas and head over to the Wynn to cash in my golden ticket and register for the tournament. I take a long walk around and look at some of the hardware on display that's going to be up for grabs this week. And while the Mike Sexton Cup would look great with my name on it, I have my sights set on a slightly smaller, solid gold trophy. In 2 days from now, someone is going to be holding that trophy. Why not us? Alright guys, here at the Wynn, got about 20 minutes until the free roll starts. Feeling pretty good. So yeah, wish us luck, and let's run deep. As I enter the ballroom to find my seat, I have a look around and take a moment to take everything in. But what brings me back to present, the side of that stage. That's the end goal, to make the final table and play under the lights for $1 million. We grab our starting stack, and as we survey the room around us, I start to realize something. I think I have an edge. Most of these players don't play nearly as much poker as I do, don't study nearly as hard as I do, don't want it nearly as much as I do. As players settle in and find their seats, we find out that 553 entrants have failed to show up. That's a huge overlay and terrific for us. We only have to outlast 1,338 more players to earn a seat at the final table, to play for all the glory, and to go down in poker history. One of these 1,447 players will be immortalized, and it could be me. As I sit down, I slowly feel my nerves transforming into a calm confidence and a belief that I can do it, that I can put together a deep run. If there is ever a time to use my one time, it's probably right now. So we actually start out with a really good seat draw. Only one pro at our table, which is Ape Styles. He's a streamer who is now actually a WPT ambassador. Level 1 was kind of quiet. I was able to raise and take down the blinds once or twice. Before I pick up this hand, playing 100-100 with a 100 chip ante. We're in the big blind for this hand with Ace of Hearts, Jack of Hearts. Button has limped to the non-pro, as has the small blind. We've got a pretty good hand against some weaker kind of ranges. So I decide to 5x here. I make it 500 to go. The button limp calls and the small blind gets out of the way. So there's 1200 to the flop, which is the best one we could ask for. It's Queen 9-5, all hearts. We make the nut flush. And even though we have a really strong hand on these monotone boards, we don't get to bet super big, especially not out of position. So I decided to go for 300 into the $1,200 pot. And to my delight, the button clicks it back at us and raises it up to 1,000 chips. So it's a pretty weird spot. I'm pretty confident that he has something pretty good at this point. Maybe like a 2-pair, possibly even a lower flush. But I didn't want to give him a chance to hero fold any 2-pair combos, or if he is just raising with a queen. So I just put in the call. So there's 3,200 in the middle to the turn, which is the ace of spades. It's going to be a better card for me than for him, I think. So I did consider leading, but in the end I decided to check it on over to him, and he sizes up this time, going for 2,000, about 2/3 pot. Again, I considered check raising, but I think turn check raises are just a little bit too strong, and I felt pretty confident that we can get some more chips in on the river, so I decided to just put in the call. So there's 7,200 in the middle, where the river is the 3 of diamonds. Complete brick, changes nothing. And I thought about this decision for a while on the river. I think we can go one of 2 ways. I think we can go for the check raise, or I think we could bet small as a block bet, hoping to induce a raise. Now, if the button was betting a single pair hand like Queen X, I think he's probably just going to check those back, because I do think he raises the button with his stronger queens like King Queen and Ace Queen. I think if he does have a hand like Queen Jack or Queen 10, he is just going to check back and take his showdown value. And I think if he has a hand like 2-pair or a set, he'll probably find a raise if we block. Of course, I think his flushes are also going to raise to the block bet sizing. So I think if we go for a check, his sets, 2 pairs, and flushes will bet, but his single pair hands will just check back. Whereas if we block, I think we get called by the single pairs, and I think 2 pairs might just call sometimes, but will probably raise. And of course, we're just gonna get a lot more money in if he has a flush. So I decided to go for the block bet. I go for 700, about 10% pot, actually a little bit less, hoping to go bet, 3-bet, because we are fairly deep to start this hand. So it's pretty tough to get all the money in, unless he does have a flush. And he thinks about it for a long time. He tanked for probably a minute. Eventually, he puts in the call. We roll over the nuts. He flashes us the queen of diamonds and mucks his cards. So probably just got paid by 1 pair there. Kind of happy I went for the block instead of the check, because I do think he just checks it back. So we take a nice pot down early. Always good to build the confidence up. For the next level or so, we take down some small pots, playing a lot of blind deep blind spots. Just feeling pretty good, chipping up nicely before we find our next spot with red pocket 10s in the small blind. Ape Styles has opened under the gun to 600. We're playing 200, 300, 300, and the button player has called. I think this is pretty close with 10s between a call and a 3-bet, but he wasn't getting too out of line, so I expect this under the gun range to be a pretty legit strong range of hands. And I wasn't so keen on playing a 4-bet pot out of position against a player that will definitely have a ton of 4-bets and definitely has a post-flop edge on me. So I decide on kind of a trappy, low variance style. I flat 10s out of the small blind here. This brings the big blind in as well. So we're 4 ways out of position to a flop with 3,000 chips in the middle. And there's no waiting. The 10 of clubs is right in the window. It comes ace, queen, 10 with 2 clubs. We flop bottom set. Now I check it on over, as does the big blind, and Ape Styles continues for 800 into 3K. Slightly over 1/4 pot. The button gets out of the way, and I consider check raising here, but on ace queen 10 against an under the gun opening range, he'll have aces and queens, as well as king jack suited, so he definitely has the nut advantage here. We are probably near the top of our range. When I was thinking of bluffs that I'd have, we might find ace X of clubs for top pair and a flush draw, or maybe king X or jack X of clubs, but I couldn't really find a ton of bluffs, so I decided to just put in the call. The big blind gets out of the way, so we're heads up with the pro. Pot's 4,600 when the turn is the queen of spades. We make a full house. Ace queen now takes the lead from us, but we don't have to worry about the club draw anymore, and ace X of clubs is still available. I check one more time, and he continues for 2,200 chips. Slightly less than half pot. I considered raising again, but I think it just looks way too strong on the repeat queen. I don't want him to hero fold any hands that are drawing dead or near dead, like king jack or ace king, so I one more time decide just to put in the call. So there's 9,000 chips in the middle. The river is a brick, 5 of diamonds. I considered blocking one more time, but he actually made a comment when I blocked the river on the last hand. So I decided this time to go for the check raise. He tanks for probably a good 90 seconds. Before checking back, we roll over the pocket 10s. He shows us why he's a pro. He mucks red ace king offsuit. So good check back from him there. Perhaps we could have got some more money in if I check raised the flop. We're now around 39,000 chips from a 25K starting stack. Looking to keep momentum going in the right direction.
All right, on first break, made it through 4 levels. Didn't bust, thank God. Phil Ivy's actually out, which is pretty sick. Have a stack of about 37k from 25, so need some big hands. Not doing anything super special. But yeah, need to find a bathroom as quickly as I can, and then we'll get back to it in 15 minutes.
We take down some more pots, 3-betting here and there. Once you show the table that you flat 10s out of the small blind, your 3-bets tend to get a little bit of respect. But we're sitting comfortable with around 75 bigs at this point. The blind levels are 300 to 600 to 600, and we're in the big blind with King of Diamonds, Queen of Spades. The cutoff, who's on the tighter side, she opens to 1200. The button, who's the same villain from our first hand, very loose, limping a lot, getting into a lot of pots, calls. Small blind gets out of the way. And I think there are merits to both flatting and 3-betting here with King Queen O. It is a late position open, but this woman was on the tighter side. I'd only seen her show down 3 hands, and she had ace king one time and queens the other 2 times. So she hasn't been very active. She also would limp on occasion, so I think this cutoff raise is fairly strong. So I decided to just put in the call. There's 4,500 chips in the middle, where the flop comes out 6-5-4 with 2 hearts and a spade. This is a board that we could get leads on in theory, but I think the button likes to call a lot. So I think if I led for a small size, we'd probably just continue fairly wide. So I decided to go for the max fold equity route and look for the check raise. I check it on over, the cutoff quickly checks, and the button checks it back. When they both check, in my head I'm thinking that I get to win this hand a lot of the time on a lot of turn cards, and the 6 of spades is one of them. I decided to go for the very small 1 big blind lead. I bet out for 600 chips. Cutoff folds. I was back on the button. Doesn't look like he likes it, but I don't think he can be all that strong. I think we'd most likely bet if he had a hand like 6x or a heart draw on the flop. But I think if he does continue this turn, it's going to be with a picked up spade draw or possibly straight draw. And on clean non-spade runouts, I feel pretty confident that I can make those fold on the river. But he's not interested in calling. He actually decides to click it. He makes it 1,200 chips to go. This line doesn't make any sense from the button. What hands is he checking back the flop with that now want to raise me on the turn? Feels like he's reading my 600 chip bet as weak and wants to get a bluff in, but he doesn't want to commit too many of his chips, so he's just gone for the click, hoping to get a snap fold. I think about this for a while and ultimately decide that he's not going to have any strong hands in this line. I decided to 3-bet up to 4,200 chips. Now this is very non-standard. You're not going to find a solver recommending this. It feels like our read is right because after about a minute of thinking, he tells us nice hand and decides to throw his cards away. Put one through using a pretty exploitative line. We made some strong hands early. We've been fairly card dead for the next few levels, so it feels good finding creative lines and creative ways to win chips. We don't play too many hands for the next few levels. Was able to flop top pair and get 2 streets of value until we reach the 500, 1,000, 1,000 level, where the floor comes over and tells us that our table is going to be breaking. So we rack up our chips and head over to a new table. We bring over about 36 big blinds. We sit down, we're greeted by some players. We pick up a pot early on by raising and taking down the blinds until we reach the 600, 1,200, 1,200 level. We're in the hijack with pocket 9s. There's a short stack in the big blind who has about 5 bigs. We're sitting on about a stack of 31 big blinds. Our table chip leader is sitting to our right. It's a relief when he folds in the low jack. So when it's on us, we're pretty standard open here. I make it 2,500 to go. It folds around to the small blind, who pretty quickly ships his stack in for 36,000. It's exactly 30 big blinds. It's a pretty big shove. The big blind gets out of the way, and I'm honestly not sure how to interpret this. In theory, here are the hands that the small blind is supposed to be shoving. See a lot of offsuit broadways, a lot of lower suited broadways, some middling pairs. Now, I don't think the small blind player is probably finding the shoves with these low pocket pairs. Probably not with these low suited aces either. But then again, I don't think he's just clicking hands like ace jack suited or ace queen or ace king suited. I think those hands might also go in. I'm very new to the table. This is my first orbit, so I don't have any reads. Small blind's a younger guy, in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, wearing an ACR hat, and his chips were stacked in one tower. Usually when players do that, their chips tend to be going in and out a lot. It's a pretty big shove. I'm fairly confident he's not doing this with top of range, aces, kings, or queens, probably not jacks either. It feels kind of bad, but I know we're not supposed to fold this spot. Here's our equilibrium response. You can see we're calling as low as pocket 6s and ace 10 suited as well. Now, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to flick in the call against tight live players with pocket 6s, probably not ace 10 suited either. But pocket 9s feels pretty close. I thought about this one for pretty long while, about a minute and a half. I decided I'm probably folding 7s and maybe even 8s. I have no reads on this player, which is a little bit tough. If we call and we're right, we'll have 60 big blinds. We'll be the runaway chip leader at our table, and we'll probably be near a top 50 stack in the tournament. Blinds are going up very fast. There's about 900 players left. 500 make the money. But you can't just fold to the money. We have to find a spot. I think this is very close, but at the end of the day, the payout structure is so top heavy that I decided it's worth it to flick in the call. We see the horrible news when he shows us pocket 10s. We're about a 4-1 dog. Let's go to a run out.
Yeah. 36.
Unfortunately, we're not able to find the 9. The small blind's going to win a huge pot, and we are left with dust. 900 chips. It's less than a big blind. We'll be first to act next hand, and we're going to be all in no matter what. We're going to need to get lucky to find the triple up to less than 2 big blinds.
That's an awesome move.
Alright, so it's like 600 on the side.
I knew he was a pro there.
It's not that good, though.
It's not good.
Alright, 3 players. One is
I
all
don't
in.
know what I have. Check.
Check.
Check. Check.
I have a pair.
Paris beats me, bro.
I need to see all the hands.
You win. Look at you. Winning.
And 10 high? Okay.
Alright, chip it. We find the 4 on the turn for 4th pair. You know what they say, it's hard to make a pair in poker. So we're still alive, but after we pay the ante in the big blind, we only have 1,500 chips left behind. It's going to be the same story for next hand. We'll have to be all in, and we'll have to get lucky one more time.
Can't do it.
Great, it's all.
It's one of the worst case scenarios for us. The hijack player who limped and called our 1 big blind more all in has king queen. We're drawing to 3 outs. We need to hit a 7 and a 7 only to stay alive. But you know what the Germans say, it's always coming 7, right?
One is lucky.
Thanks, son.
7.
There's a queen in the door. Now, even if we hit our 7, we'll still be behind. We need to hit running cards to stay alive. The most likely scenario is that we'll be drawing dead on the turn, crashing out of the tournament.
Never mind.
The turn gives our opponent 2 pair, but it is a club, and we have the 7 of clubs, which means that there are 9 cards in the deck that will make us a flush and keep our hope alive. Around 18% of the time, we'll have around 6 big blinds and a chance to spin it back up, but the rest of the time, we'll be going home with nothing.
GG's.
The river is black, but it's the 10 of spades. We don't get there. I had very big ambitions for this tournament. Overall, fairly happy with the way I played, but I can't help but feel disappointed. So we are out in 900th of with 9 small blinds shoved in 30 bigs. I covered by like 1 blind, less than a blind or something. I mean, pretty standard small spot. I think in theory I'm supposed to call down to like 7s or maybe even some 6s off 30 bigs. It was a pretty big shove. It's gonna be like middling pairs like that. He's gonna shove 9s and 10s and some suited broadways, king jack suited, and ace queen off. So couldn't get there. Had dust. So you guys are gonna see those hands. But yeah, a little bit unfortunate. Outlasted decent amount of the field. Kind of like, you know, but maybe you could just play a little bit more conservative. But it's such a top heavy structure that yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's much merit to like trying to fold to the money. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. So we weren't able to win the $1 million, nor make the final table. We didn't even make the money. Do we make memories? Sure, but that's not why I came out here. I came out here to win, and we couldn't get it done this time. Overall, I feel hungry and inspired to keep working hard with a little bit of extra motivation to know that next time I will be making a deep run. Thank you guys for watching. I'll have some cash game vlogs from the Vegas trip coming out soon. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. And until next time, good luck at the tables.